All right, what's going on, guys? Lava here from the RigCast, doing part two of What If Deku Had the Sharingan. And quick shout out to everyone that liked and commented on the last video. Thanks for the support. Not much to say for the intro part of this episode, and I kind of just want to get right into it. So yeah, last time we left off, I believe, it was right before the second half of the entrance exam. So going right into that, we're gonna have them all waiting at the the entrance line, start line, whatever you want to call it. And Midori is just looking around. And he looks and sees Ochako standing at the front, so he's like, "Oh well, I guess I'll go say hi to her." And that's when Tenya kind of steps in his way and is like, "Dude, you better not mess with that girl, because she's trying to focus up." And Deku's like, "Who the hell are you telling me what to do?" So he kind of just pushes him to the side and keeps going. And then him and Ochako just have since the test starts in like less than a minute. That's how much they just say some basic things like, "Oh, you got this, girl. Don't worry about nothing. You seem pretty strong." So after their whole little convo, the test starts, and it's gonna have Midori is gonna be able to actually take out the robots this time, since he actually has power to be able to do that thing. He probably won't even need to use one for all for this. He can just use the strength amp that the Sharingan gives him, and he would just use that and just basic fireball jutsu. So by the end of it, he'd rack up about 80 points just from getting robots and that whole thing. And then along the way, he also helped people that were in trouble, like with the robots, and were struggling a little bit. So he helped with that. And that's when the 0 pointer shows up, and he wasn't gonna run away anyway, because he was seeing it as a challenge to see if he could take it down. But then he hears a girl screaming, and whenever he activates the Sharingan was activated, but he uses to scan the area, and he sees it's Ochako. So he jumps into action, and he uses one of his special moves that combines one for all with the Sharingan. And with what he does is he uses the Majestic Flame Destroyer Jutsu, the one Madara used against the Shinobi Alliance. And then after that, the robot stunned. So what Deku does is he charges up, he does a Dragon Flame Jutsu, but he has the dragon part of it kind of hang around his arm. Sort of like how Hinata's Twin Lion Fist work. He does something like that, except it's a flame instead. And then he charges up a 10% one for all punch. And with that and the Sharingan strength boost, it really amps up to about 30% of one for all. So he punches the 0 pointer, and since it's already pretty weakened from the Majestic Flame Destroyer, the entire head just starts melting, since whenever Midori hits the shot, not only does it do a lot of damage, but the dragon flame that was around his arm, it was sort of cowed around his arm, kind of just spreads around and melts that shit down. So yeah, the 0 pointer is being melted, and once he does that, since his legs and stuff aren't broken, he just jumps down, and as he's landing, he picks up Ochako before the robot gets down to her, and he kind of just carries her off. And he's in the moment, so he doesn't even realize that people were trying to stop him. He was just looking for the recovery girl, because since he doesn't know about heroes, he would know what kind of teachers are there, so he'd be looking for the nurse and all that stuff. And obviously he drops her off there, and she thanks him for saving him, all that. But he realizes he just has enough points from the robots he's taken down and the people he saved and all that, so he really just walks off out of the arena, since he knew he was good enough to pass. So I'm pretty sure there's 2 weeks in between the test. It might have been more, but I'm just gonna say it's 2 weeks between him taking the test and then getting the results. And what he's just gonna be doing this time is just training and hanging out. But one day when he's when he's just walking around the city, he's going by a construction site and he sees Ochako, helping there because her family and them, they own, I know they work with construction. So she was kind of just there with her family, like helping around. So he walks up and he's like, "Hey Ochako, you is your I'm pretty sure her legs were messed up and everything." So he's like, "Your legs good?" And she's like, "Oh, hi Midoriya," because she doesn't know the Deku nickname yet. So they have like a little conversation of just furthering along like how well they know each other, and it goes on for a little bit. But then he offers to if she would like to train with him and just for like the before school starts, so she can like get just get better a bit more physically. So in that like week, there's gonna be like a week and a half because he spent a few days just hanging out around like his place training, but now him and her are training on the beach, and during this time they'll come up with a little like sort of like a little combo move for if they ever end up fighting together, to where she has him like start floating, and then with that he just used like wind jutsu to make himself kind of go around. And he uses gale, like I'm pretty sure it's wind style gale palm, like the thing Boruto uses with his shadow clones, or he boosts himself forward. He would basically do that, but he doesn't need shadow clones since the zero gravity is already giving him a pretty good boost. So he would kind of just he would use that, and then he boosts himself towards the enemy, and then he would kind of just shoot off Phoenix Flower Jutsu to disorient the enemy, and then he just hit him with a freaking what's a good smash from the show? We'll just say the Connecticut Smash or something like that, and he'd use that, and he would just knock the target with a 12% one for all punch. Since that's how much his full counting is, so his arms can take it. He what he used the Sharingan during this, but that's how the move goes, and it'd just be like their first team up move or whatever you want to call it, combo one, that sort of thing. So he gets when it so the day he gets his acceptance letter, which is it was like the day he got it. It was after they were training, and he was just hanging out at his house, and then the mail arrived, and his mom just gave it to him, and instead of opening it by himself in his room, he opened it up with her, and she was because before he didn't want to get embarrassed in front of her or something like that. But he opened it and obviously got accepted. In fact, he got about second place, only to Bakugo, who got first for just getting like a single, like two or more robots more than him while he was walking out. So, they were very close. He was only like 2 or 3 points ahead of him. So Midori is a little pissed about that, but he kind of just shrugs it off and says, "Oh no, I'm better than him anyway, so it doesn't really matter." So skipping forward, because there's not much for I want to talk about during that little time, we're gonna go to the first day at UA, and we'd have Midoriya. He'd notice the big ass doors and like, what is going on here? Why are these doors so huge? He'd walk in and he'd automatically hear Tenya and Bakugo just going at it, like, because that's what they do. That's what happened, and that's still gonna happen because Bakugo's still Bakugo. So Bakugo sees Midoriya walking, is like, "Deku, why are you nerd? How is the nerd here?" And then Midoriya's like, "Huh?" Because Bakugo saw him training, but he didn't always like how strong Deku actually was. So they kind of get in a little conflict, but then Ida breaks it up and introduces himself to Deku, and that's how their friendship starts, where they have that whole little interaction where he apologizes for underestimating Midoriya. So that's when Uraraka walks in and is like, "Thank you for saving me again." And since they did meet up for like that week and a half, they already have sort of a foundation. They're already friends and all that. So they kind I'm pretty, it doesn't really matter where they sit, but for the sake of the story, I'll just say like they sit towards the middle of the room. Ida, Ochako, and Midoriya, So they sit there, and by the time they sat down, and that's when Mr. Aizawa gets up out of his sleeping bag and is like, "It took you guys 15 seconds to quiet down and get in your seats. That's far too long." That whole thing. He would look around the room and he'd be like, "Man, I'm gonna have to expel all of you guys," or something like that. You know how he is. And then with that, I feel he does the whole thing about orientation. I'm pretty sure it was where it's like, "Oh, we're not going to orientation. We're doing this test." So, and then everyone's like, "Come on, we can't miss orientation." But then Aizawa just doesn't care. So they go in. This goes into the quirk apprehension test. I'm pretty sure it was. The one they had after they all entered UA in the first day of school. So Bakugo's gonna go first since he did get first place, and I don't remember his ball throws, but for the sake of the story, I'll just say he gets 900 meters on the ball throw, and then Deku goes second, and he gets 1600 meters, which kind of just makes Bakugo really mad because he got more than him. So then they basically are just competing for the rest of the test. And for most of it, Midori would win, but there's a few where Bakugo second place. Mineta still got. All right, sorry about that. Anyway, yeah, so Mineta still gets first place on the side to side thing because of his sticky balls. And then. Sorry about that again, there's an interruption. Anyway, so yeah, the quirk apprehension test. All right. So yeah, the quirk apprehension test goes a bit different because Midori gets first place in that, and Bakugo gets second. So that rivalry just is continuing, and so their rivalry continues. Everyone else gets similar places. Mineta gets last place, but Mr. Aizawa, he's like, "Oh, I wasn't gonna actually kick any of you out." So that just kind of gets him, you know, makes everyone like, "Are you kidding me?" And then Momo's like, "I knew that from the beginning." Deku knew too, since he just got them brains. Now he's still smart in canon, but now he just has more awareness and that sort of sense. So he already knew what was going on. But that really, yeah, that covers everything with the quirk apprehension test. Pretty simple. Like Midori does really well. But Mr. Aizawa does notice that before he uses his power, like his eyes turn into a different color. So he is like, "I wonder if this kid's quirk is like mine." Like, well, he knows it's like his have to do with his eyes, but you know what I mean. So I'm trying to think. I don't know if anything major happens between that and then, but since I'm unaware, I'm just going straight into like the hero versus villains. Like the training thing that they had. You know, I hope I'll put a picture up. I'm pretty sure, but going into that, Midoriya, the teams. So that day of class, I'm pretty sure it was like the last week of school. Not the last week, but like the last of the first week of school. All their classes and everything that day is normal, but then during their hero class, All Might just busts in through the door, going like, "Oh, I'm coming like a normal person." And then Deku's like, "How the hell is that? How a normal person would come in?" Everyone else is freaking out that All Might's there, but since Deku is was trained by him, he just isn't really phased. But this is when All Might's like, "Today we'll be doing special training with heroes versus villains." And that's when he brings in the cart of costumes and all that good stuff. So they all get in their costumes, get dressed, and they all walk out wearing their costumes. Now everyone's is the same but Deku. Deku's costume is Madara's black robe, and then he has a support item which is Madara's Windblade. So he's looking hella drippy. Scratch that. It's more like Toby. It's more like Obito during the like Fourth Great Ninja War, like the first part of Fourth Great Ninja War. His thing where it's like all purple, except that he doesn't have the white mask, so it has more coloring in it. So yeah, he has that, and then the wind blade as a support item, and everyone's like, "Wow, your costume looks really cool," and freaking, um, you know what, um, man, Kaminaris is like, "Yo, it's pretty good. Freaking, you got that drip, dude." So they continue, and everyone's like, "Oh wow, that looks awesome." Red Riot, he's like, "Yo, you look like you're hella man right now. You're looking real manly." But anyway, they all give their little feedback on it. Bakugo just kind of grunts and walks off. So All Might is like pointing at the screen, which shows all their teams, and it's all it's all the same teams they had in canons. Deku and Ochako, and Bakugo and Ida, everything like that. So they all, and then it's the same matchup. So going into match one with Deku and Ochako versus Baku and all that, they would discuss their plan in the front, on the front, like on the outside. And the plan's very similar to canon, where it's like Deku's luring out Bakugo to get him to fight, and then Ochako sneaks up and gets the bomb and deals with Ida. So that plane activates, and Deku just activates his Sharingan and like scans the building to see if he detects like where Bakugo is. He finds the bomb immediately with that as well. So he tells Ochako where that is and points it out to her, tells her where to go. So they enter, the timer starts. So they enter the building, and almost immediately Deku's just like, "Bakugo, come on and face me, you coward." Because, he's just purposely trying to lure him out. So he's just saying stuff Bakugo would say. But he's also just trying to prove he can whoop his ass. So Bakugo's running around after hearing that, and Ochako's speeding off towards where the bomb is. And that's when the fight starts happening, where Bakugo and Deku are just throwing hands. Now, this is gonna be since Bakugo's a lot stronger than in canon, so their fight's gonna be actually kind of even. But then Deku right now is only using the Sharingan. So once he realizes he could lose, he activates One for All at 10%, and things start to shift in his favor more. So they just keep going, and Bakugo shooting off explosions after explosions just to get Deku off of his feet and get him hit to misstep. But Deku's able to dodge all of this really easily with the Sharingan. But once they get into like sort of like a corridor that cuts off at the end, so a dead end, Bakugo is about to activate the AP shot, which would just devastate the entire hallway. Deku realizes this, so he uses the body flicker technique to get behind Bakugo, and he grabs the gauntlet and just straight up break. He basically cracks it, which causes the AV shot not to go off, since the whole, it's broken. So he breaks the gauntlet and just decks Bakugo in the face, not like knocking him out, because Bakugo could take that hit. He gets knocked back, and Deku uses the shadow clone jutsu and creates a decoy. So the real Deku goes off to fight him, and because Bakugo didn't see him do the hand sign and see the clone come off, so the clone's kind of just running around the room getting ready for a strike. So the real Deku uses the wind blade to get Bakugo's footing off and get him stuck in place. And once he does that, the clone uses the canyon cannon that Mount Lady used on the villain on top of the bus or the train tracks to defeat during that one day in middle school. I think it was a sludge villain attack, but he uses that move to take out Bakugo, and it was actually pretty powerful. So it's just a strike right to Bakugo's back, which just incapacitates him almost immediately. So the clone disappears, and Deku puts the tape around Bakugo, and he's like, "You made me sweat pretty hard there. Good job, Bakugo. I still won in the end." And Bakugo's almost was about to be out of consciousness, because he got decked by a One for All punch, and then got hit with the canyon cannon square on the back. So after this, we're gonna have Deku run up Like he's gonna run up the stairs to where Ochako is, and she's in the midst of a battle with Ida. She's just avoiding his attacks and causing like random objects to float to get him disoriented. But once Deku gets there, the tide of battle really changes. But while he's watching them fight, he's like scans all of like he copies all of Ida's moves with the Sharingan so he can save them for later. And once he copies the moves, he rushes over there. Only no one for all, just Sharingan right now. He uses all the moves he just learned against him, and since Ida didn't expect this, he kind of gets overwhelmed a little bit by both because they're both coming at him. And that's whenever they use their combo number one, where she uses her quirk on him, and he kind of just absolutely just decks him. He gets knocked out for sure from that. So Ida gets knocked out, and they type him up. They basically won by them. I'm pretty sure they still had to touch the bomb. So Deku and Ochako both touched the bomb, and they won that match. All the other matches go according to canon, except no, now except Deku was the MVP of the round for being able to come up with a plan that didn't harm the building too much, and then was able to take out both the villains swiftly. So everything else goes the same. Everyone shows off their skill and all that good stuff. So going on, I'm pretty sure the next event after that is the USJ, which I think, I'll just go into the USJ since I don't know what else I could do for this early stuff. So with the USJ, the day starts off the same where like the reporters coming and stuff and the villains sneak in for them, like when that whole disturbance happens. And that's when Ida becomes class president, all that good stuff. So after all that, they all head to the USJ on the bus. That whole fuss happens where Ida's trying to get everyone in the right line, but then the bus is like sideways or something like that. So they arrive there, and Deku can almost immediately just detect something's going on, because his senses are just going up. And Mater is also in his head, just like I can sense there's some high power level shit. Like he can detect high. I don't know what the correct. Like he can just detect there's some very powerful people around here. So he tells Deku that, but Deku kind of just looks around and is like, "Oh, he must mean the hero." He knows he didn't mean the hero. He's like, maybe it's just part of the thing, but he does kind of mention a little something to Mr. Aizawa about it. So Mr. Aizawa is already on guard that something might happen. So they walk in the building, and Zero, I'm pretty sure that's the name. It's like Zero or something. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Zero. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but the hero that makes black holes or something like that, Zero, she kind of tells them what's going on and what they're gonna be doing there that day. But that's when Kirigiri is teleporting everyone in. And I don't know the exact number of villains that were there, but I'll just say there's like 1,500 or something. Okay, that's too many. But let's just say the 300, 325, something around that range, So all of the... Yeah, sorry, Bean. There's a little interruption, sorry. Yeah, all the villains arrive, and everyone's immediately... not everyone, but all like Deku, Bakugo, Todoroki, all of them, they know something's going on. So they're like, oh, we better get ready to fight. Mr. Aizawa is getting ready to jump out, but Deku's already jumping into the fray. And he just absolutely is destroying these like little bit, like the minor villains. Because, it's just how Madara was with the regiment during the fourth Great Ninja War, where he's just destroying all of them. And they're trying to use his quirks on him, but the Sharingan just allows him to dodge. He's not using one for all here at all. He's only having to use the power of the Sharingan, which is just amazing. So he's doing all of this, and by this time, Kirigiri's like teleporting everyone around the place to get him messed up or whatever, take him out. But after during all this is happening, all that kind of stuff happens where they land at the boat and all the other places. So with that, during this, like Sue and Mineta still get out of their situation because I feel like Sue would have figured something out. So they get out of there, and Deku is still just like destroyed. By this time, he's already taken out like 50, 60 of the minor villains. So, and Mr. Aizawa is taking care of the other ones. So, during this, Shigaraki's just getting at, like, he's getting mad that his pawns or whatever are just getting toyed around with, and he's saying the heroes are cheating and that, all that stuff, because he was saying like video game terms. So he's just saying all that stuff. And Nomu's just standing by him. And Deku like not scans the Nomu, but he's like, that must be one of the really powerful people. That's who he is. So he rushes over to the Nomu, but as he does, Shigaraki just is like, huh? No, you're not. So he tells the Nomu to just fucking kill that kid. And that's when the Nomu just absolutely blitzes Midoriya and hits him square in the chest, just knocking him back. But he knocks him back, and that's when everyone kind of just looks around and is like, "Holy hell, did Deku just die?" But Deku just gets up because if he knows he stands there, he's gonna get wrecked. So during this, Ochako, Mr. Aizawa, and Ida ran to get the other, like he had to get teacher's help. So he's going on there just speeding over. But Ochako, Mr. Aizawa, and Bakugo are over there with the Nomu and are just trying to, stall it so it doesn't just go over there and kill Deku. But it's able to easily fend them off. Like it can just flick them away. But Deku's like halfway unconscious right now. Conscious. I can't speak. He's hardly awake right now because he just got decked and hit hella hard. But Madara just like pumps him full of chakra to wake him up. So he does that, and whenever he gets up, all he sees is Ochako getting basically flinged to the side, and then Bakugo, kind of just his arm. Yeah, Bakugo's arm just basically gets crushed by the Nomu, which causes Deku to just get really mad because he he sees Bakugo as his rival, so he can't have his rival dying. But then he sees Bakugo about to die because the Nomu's just, he's going off of whatever his orders are. So he's about to step on Bakugo's head. And that kind of, so that's when Deku just rushes over there at new speeds because, he can't, he's like barely, he's not able to, his emotions aren't in check. So One for All is just getting really powerful right now because of the speed he's going at. And then like One for All slowly just amping. Like right now, he's probably like One for All 20% power, and and he could push himself obviously, but he wanted to go at 12%. But right now, it's just like naturally slowly going up. By the time he's at the Nomu, it's at 35% power, and his Sharingan turned into like basically the Mangekyo Sharingan activated just out of pure rage and instinct that was like deep inside of him, seeing his friends get tossed to the side. And the ability and what happens is like, so basically little black flames just pop out and like appear on the Nomu's chest. And, it doesn't really know, but Shigaraki notices and tells the Nomu to put it out. So the Nomu just kind of tries to shrug it off, but it's Amaterasu. So it's not coming off. So, Midori is rushing at it, and his eyes are just, since it's the Mangekyo, his strength is just like quadrupled, amplified. So he basically has like his strength is just out of this world right now. So he comes over to the Nomu and just hits him first with a cannon to knock him back. And then once the Nomu is just absolutely stunned by that, he hits him with the ultimate like Dragon Flame Fist move again, except this time the dragon's basically like half Amaterasu swings it like flames. So he punches the Nomu with like everything he has. And the move, it's called, I guess, Dragon Flame Fist or something along those lines. I'm not great with move names, but let's go with Dragon Flame Fist. So he hits him with that, And at the same time, another like he punches it with that, which knocks the Nomu back. But once he like charges up again to punch him, that's when like a skeleton, like part of a Susanoo, just but not the full Susanoo, just like the skeletal arm also pops up as Deku's about to punch the Nomu, and the Susanoo just absolutely hits. The Susanoo just absolutely destroys the Nomu because the Susanoo is being powered by One for All, so even though it's just the like skeleton arm and fist, it's still very powerful because One for All at that like 30% is just destroying the Nomu. So the Nomu is like just spit, kind of like whenever you get hit by Rasengan and you kind of just spin around. The Nomu is just being blasted and it gets hit and is just launched into the wall. It can't move because everything in it, like all of its stuff, just got broken. So the Nomu's out of the game, and Deku just looks over to Shigaraki, and his eyes are just, and the pattern his eyes are just are Madara's, because since Madara's is inside, like Madara's is reincarnate. Since he's the reincarnation of Madara, his pattern's just gonna be his. And Shigaraki is like, cheater. So he is about to rush at him, but that's when Kirigiri comes over and is like, I don't. I'm pretty sure. Did he call him? I'm pretty sure he called him master, but he just says Shigaraki, it's time to go. So he forcibly teleports Shigaraki away, and this was much more of a major victory for the heroes. Well, obviously not for like the people who got injured, but since All Might didn't have to use a bunch of his like a certain amount of his strength on the Nomu, everyone was able. He still has that part left. But almost immediately, Deku just passes out from how much energy was just used to defeat the Nomu. So, as the same time as the pro heroes arrive and start cleaning up like all the other villains who weren't teleported away, medics and EMTs and all that get there to, heal everyone up, and Recovery Girl's just, doing her thing. So the people that got majorly like Ochako didn't get too injured. She was just thrown to the side, so those kind of stuff. But Bakugo and Deku both have to go into the thing since Bakugo had his arm just basically crushed by the Nomu. But since Recovery Girl's there, his healing's just gonna be really quickly. And with Deku, he just has to get his energy back. So nothing too major there. Oh, and he has to get his chest healed from the Nomu punch. So I think that's where, yeah, that's what I'm in part 2 right here. So part 2 is going to end here, and for the story part, a little bit. So next chapter I'll just cover the or part I'll cover the sports, this whole sports the sport festival. Almost, I don't know how I forgot that, but yeah. Next part, I'll cover the sports festival, and that should be fun. So yeah, that's all for this part. Thanks for listening, and this is Lava. Have a good day.